before the elections, it was one of the things I said on here on Super Citizen at Sunset. I said after the elections, we're going to be hearing a lot of court cases, tribunals here and there. It's going to be interesting, a ride. So fasten your seatbelt, okay? If this is the first time of paying attention to elections in Nigeria, I would say you haven't seen nothing yet. Brace up, people. Okay, so the elections, when was it? February 25, right? I mean the presidential and National Assembly elections. It happened a few days ago. But it was a few days after the voting that election results were announced by INEC. And apparently the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress came out winner, right? But today, the Labour Party presidential candidate have categorically said that he has a very strong feeling that Labour Party won the elections, and so they'll be exploring all legal means to reclaim the mandate. That's what he said, Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Gregory Obi. So he's even faulted Nigeria's inability to conduct free and fair elections 63 years after independence, saying he will challenge what he called electoral rascality in court. I'm actually looking forward to those sessions. It can get really interesting, actually, especially if you're posted to those courts and you have to, gather stories from there. When these, very experienced, very brilliant lawyers are throwing arguments from left, right, and center, it's usually very interesting. Anyway, I'm looking forward to it. So this is part of what he said. He said, we will explore all legal and peaceful options to reclaim our mandate. We won the election and we will prove it to Nigerians. That's what he said. There was a press conference earlier today, Thursday, somewhere around 4 or 5 hours ago, thereabouts. That's when the press conference held. This is what he said. He went on to say, he said, I'm challenging the process. This is very unfair. It is the least expected of Nigeria. Anyway, he didn't forget to enjoin, party faithfuls and supporters to go out and mobilize towards the March 11 governorship and state houses of assembly elections. There's still work to do. It's not just presidential election alone. He's encouraged them to go ahead and mobilize. Perhaps after the March 11 outing, we will now come and start paying attention to what happened and what did not happen. Anyway, we saw Julius Abure at the briefing. That's the party's national chairman, the director general of Labour Party's presidential campaign, Akin Osuntokun, was also there. The very calm, very calm-spoken person. He also said himself and his running mate remain committed to a new Nigeria, and he really did thank his youthful followers, the obedience, of course, urging them to not be deterred by the outcome of the polls. Well, going to court is one thing, and getting the ruling in your favor is another, right? But one step at a time. Just take one step at a time. We know for sure that this is the position right now. Labour Party said they are going to court. And, of course, we'll be here. We'll be bringing you all the updates as they unfold. Has it gotten easier for you? Cash. Has it gotten easier for you? Are you able to see cash now? Are you able to have cash in your hands? Like you and cash, you're rubbing hands, you are shaking hands. It's been really difficult. As I said earlier, if you have 5,000 naira cash now, we should ask you questions. We really should ask you questions, because my God. And for those who have 10,000, your matter is not in Nigeria, it's ICC. It's a National Criminal Court. Because we don't know how you're able to raise that money, man. Cash, 10K, like 10K live in your hands. Come forward. Let's ask you questions. Anyway, so what's news right now is that we're getting fresh reports on how that some banks are getting old 500 naira and 1,000 naira notes. If you check Vanguard News for today, you'll be able to see that headline and read further information on it. Deposit money banks have started receiving old 500 naira and 1,000 naira notes again. So the story goes that there was a bit of a confusion on the fate of members of the public who had affected notes in their possession. If you remember, the whole brouhaha, CBN, federal government, stop using 500 naira and 1,000 naira notes. So 200 naira was among the first, but then you can now transact with 200 naira notes. I was somewhere the other day and a lady paid for something and she was giving 200 naira old notes and she was like, no, I will not collect. It's no longer legal tender. And then we had to tell her, oh no, 200 naira is legal tender. The old naira, the old 200 naira notes legal tender in Nigeria. It's been brought back in circulation at least until April of this year. Okay, so for now you can go on, collect change in 200 naira. There isn't enough as we speak, Seth. Okay, right. Anyway, so following the report of how that some banks are beginning to receive old naira notes, 500 naira, 1,000 naira notes, the CBN had to make a statement and say that it's not true that CBN authorized deposit money banks to collect the old 500 naira and 1,000 naira notes. It is not true. So the directive to have to get 500 naira notes and 1,000 naira as old 500 and 1,000 naira back into circulation is not true. Any deposit money bank, that's commercial banks, so the banks that you and I have accounts on, any of those banks that receive old 500 naira and 1,000 naira notes should report to the appropriate authorities. It is not legal tender and should not be accepted by any commercial bank, at least not at this time. Citizen FM 93.7 news roundup at this time. Basically, most of the stories around Nigeria at this time is centered around elections, congratulatory messages coming in for the president-elect and, of course, his deputy. And we also have international communities enjoining INEC, international communities are enjoining INEC to, do better. Make further, response to the pleas of people about how that they need the investigations be carried out on the irregularities that were reported during the election process in Nigeria. So that's where most of the stories are tilted towards around this time in Nigeria. But of course, before then, we had other issues that we were facing: the scarcity of naira, scarcity of fuel, and even the Chrisland pupil who died shortly before the election. Sadly, the pupil was laid to rest. I think it was earlier today, and it was a very, very tear-jerking moment, especially as the parent of the child revealed that they carried out an autopsy report, and according to the autopsy, it was electrocution that killed the child, not what the school had initially reported. They said it was related to heart conditions, and the parent had said, no, my child never suffered any heart condition prior to this day. So how were we having a situation where we're saying that the child died due to heart condition? Anyway, this is what she said. The autopsy result is out, and Desola, that's the name of the child who died, was electrocuted. My daughter died of electrocution. I have been subjected to trauma for the past 2 weeks. Tomorrow will make it 3 weeks. My baby died. The school made me think I was crazy. They started pushing the narrative of she was sick, she was sickly. They sent letters and publications out. People insulted me and my family. My child was electrocuted to death. I told the school I don't want trouble. All I want is answers. They came to my house and knelt down. They came to my house and knelt down. I begged, I pleaded. I said, Mrs. Amal, please, I don't know how autopsy is being done, but I have browsed it and the image is scary. Please, my daughter is already dead. Don't make me put her through that. That will butcher her. I beg you in the name of God. You're a mother. Please help me investigate and find out what happened. And they refused to investigate. And then I went on to allow for an autopsy report. She was opened up. They took part of her kidney, liver, stomach content, and yes, all of that process that happens for autopsy. And when the report came out, it was discovered that it was electrocution that killed the child, just as the circulating voice note had initially, and all of that information that followed during the period. But hey, we also need to remember that the Lagos state government is still carrying out investigations on the matter. They said they would bring to public knowledge whatever the result of the investigations are when they round off. This report is still from the parent of the girl who died, the Chrisland pupil, and the school is still shut down for now while investigations are ongoing. As more updates come from that story, we're bringing you up to speed with that. Take a break at this time. When we come back, more information